Last time on Raygun Readers. Papreeka, help!
Oh no, you have an evil clone?
He has a bomb! Shoot him! No, he's the clone! Save me! Oh, that was close. How did you know he was the clone?
Well, you put on a few pounds since the last cycle, so I shot the thinner, more attractive one.
Oh.
Yeah, you've been eating all those greasy grub burgers from Talos.
But they're so delicious and affordable. How could I not?
For a limited time, get 2 greasy grub burgers for the price of 1.
You say ew, but our customers say blah 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 blah.
That means yum.
Are we done? Can we get the check?
It's in the mail, just start the episode.
This podcast is a part of the Benview Network.
You can find this and other podcasts like it at BenviewNetwork.com.
This podcast often contains controversial or mature topics. You have been warned. Welcome back to Raygun Readers, episode something I don't remember.
You never remember.
I never remember. I have to correct it in post.
I don't even look, so...
You don't even watch these things. Why bother? All right, today we have a continuation of the Rebirth Saga by Binary Algorithm. So we're going to hop right into that and not waste any of your time.
Right into that.
As she opens it on her viewing screen.
On my viewing screen. While we're in the middle of an asteroid field.
It's very
Probably
difficult.
should be a good idea not to have your screen up while driving, while flying,
Don't have your targeting computer up.
while spaceshipping? Would that be considered driving or flying?
Flying. Because you're not on a fixed physical thing.
Yeah, but I'm at the wheel.
So, airliners have kind of wheel things.
Yeah, but it's not an airliner. It's a space liner.
No, those... a Musk 707. Speaking of Musk, just announced that he is building... He's digging tunnels in and around his properties to alleviate traffic as a possibility to apply that to infrastructure. Because here in California...
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? So he wants to dig tunnels to help with traffic.
Yeah. So in California...
Why doesn't he just give us flying ships?
Well, someone's already working on that. B, it's a lot easier just to dig tunnels for existing cars.
It is 2017, and we are not recording on a conveyor belt. The Jetsons lied to us.
The Jetsons also... I'm not going to get into that because it's going to get super racist. I'm kidding. In California, we keep building more roads, but it can't keep up with the amount of cars that we have.
Yeah, we live in the crux of that right now.
Pretty much. And the super bullet train thing is such a big boondoggle that, who knows when construction's even going to start and how much it's going to cost in the end. So he's saying, look, we have better geophysical imaging technology now, so we can better build a system of tunnels to work for traffic. I thought that was kind of cool, except for the fact that he hasn't mentioned the mole people who live underneath the Earth's surface. How he's going to deal with those, I'd like to know, because they are armed with rabies teeth.
Is there going to be a tunnel war instead
Oh my
of a
God,
turf war?
tunnel wars. Can someone write a story about tunnel wars
That sounds
with
like
mole
a great
people?
video game.
Fuck yeah, it does. That'd
Okay.
be cool. Anyway, story.
Anyways,
Tangent.
we're in the middle of a story where a dude was brain sucked into the Matrix, and he has to,
cryogenically frozen.
and of course he's the one because he's capable of.
We don't know if he's the one
building
yet.
better than everybody else because he was an engineer.
Not better, just better than
More
usual
betterer.
starters.
Just more better.
We don't know if he's the one
He's
yet.
almost. He's just Neo. He's just He's
Old Neo.
Eno.
He's
Eno.
If you haven't heard our episodes on the other chapters, go back and listen to those, please. I should probably make a playlist at some point. I think I'll do that.
It's just every other episode back, so that.
Yeah. Okay, so Chapter 7, History. Arthur continued to build and design more and more elaborate structures. His favorite was probably a recreation of a skyscraper from Blade Runner, for which he also had to study some archived images to get it right. How meta is that? How meta is that? We're in a sci-fi
Why doesn't
story.
he just 3D model the archived images and have it create itself?
Because that's boring. That's basically copy-paste.
Well, he's making it so perfect.
He didn't say he made it perfectly. He said that was his favorite.
Okay.
Stop assuming he's the one and like, ugh.
No. He has to be involved in the building.
Ugh.
Even though you could 3D model it in this perfect world where you could model things. Probably. I'm guessing.
He engaged in other media as well, composing music and even adjusting skylighting and coloration to set the appropriate mood. I think it should be skylighting, but whatever. He received billions of pieces of feedback which Rachel summarized for him, except these were the digital denizens of cyberspace looking at and using his creations. How many flesh and blood humans had seen his work? Despite having a slower response time, surely some of the 8 billion or so humans had noticed it? Wait, that wasn't right. Didn't he say?
Didn't she say?
Didn't she say?
Also, I want to have sky lightning all the time.
You mean lightning?
Just a little bit of lightning here and a little bit there. Rachel, how did we go from 8.5 billion people on the planet to less than 1 billion? Even if all natural reproduction ceased, we might have lost half of it over the past 50 or so years. Probably less if you factor in the extended lifespans through the nanocellular repair mechanism. The math doesn't make any sense.
Rachel looked away, her expression grim. I was wondering when this would come up. You are correct that after humanity entered VR, the slow
Robot wars.
Robot tunnel wars of the mole people. You are correct that after humanity entered VR, the slow population decline from lack of reproduction doesn't fully explain it. The highest population of 8.7 billion was a few years after you were frozen in 2033. After the 2048 intelligence explosion and the move to VR, things were stabilized very quickly with about 1 billion humans. This leaves the period between the two where the population fell dramatically. She stared off into space and did not continue.
I have a feeling I don't want to know, but I need to know. Please, Rachel, what happened to everyone?
You're going to freak out if I tell you.
I'm going to freak out if you don't tell me.
She turned back toward Arthur and hesitated for a long moment. Arthur started to think he wouldn't get an answer, but finally she began to explain. Disaster struck in 2045. A retroviral delivery method was developed to target a certain rare genetic disease in the brain. While it was wildly successful in clinical trials, one of the participants developed a severe respiratory infection and was hospitalized. We don't know exactly what happened, but the retrovirus co-opted the original infection, making it a carrier of the viral DNA. It was also an extremely virulent strain. When infecting, it would also emit the retrovirus, causing everyone infected to receive the experimental treatment. Unfortunately, while disabling the gene involved in the neurons of people with the rare disease was a perfect solution for the issue, for those without that disease, the effect was to slowly spread in the brain, shutting down the function of neurons, leading to coma and later death.
Whoa. So, a rare genetic disease. So somebody found a treatment for a genetic disease, but one of the participants had an evolved virus created in his response to the disease.
One of the test subjects, probably not a great term for it, yeah, but someone basically became Typhoid Mary.
Did it spread to the vaccine that created it, or did it just spread from patient zero? Because why would you infect a population with patient zero? Why not just use your serum?
The retrovirus co-opted the original infection, making it a carrier of viral DNA.
Okay.
Kind of.
So it kind of it sort of
backfired.
So the virus that the person had was made worse.
Yeah.
By this. Okay.
By accident.
All right. And so that spread from him.
Yeah.
To everybody.
Because it presented as a common infection and took so long to kill the host, it had spread to most of the world's population centers by the time it was discovered. I'm just reminded of Plague right now.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
I love that game.
So somebody played a really good game of Plague in this world.
Someone kicked Plague's ass. By then, it was too late to stop the damage. A cure could not be found with conventional research. Advanced artificial intelligence was tasked with solving the medical problem. containment of the disease, and developing and implementing policies to prevent total collapse of human civilization. It was given unlimited access to all available computing power, with which it reached a tipping point, becoming superintelligent. It determined that the most people could be saved by voluntarily sequestering themselves in VR, and almost all the remaining population agreed. The AI later realized that peak happiness was achieved by staying in VR, and too few people wanted to come back to base reality anyway after what had happened. So it is to this day. That's one way to reach singularity. Humanity goes under some super virus.
So it is to this day. Amen.
Amen.
I see. So it saved what was left of the human race only to imprison them in VR forever, Arthur said incredulously. Someone would have to come out. He could not even imagine billions perishing from disease, and he didn't put any further effort into trying to. It was too horrifying even to imagine a disease that degraded the brain and thus the mind. Something 100 times worse than his Alzheimer's was. And why would no one come out of VR voluntarily? How could you live your entire life there?
I'll try to explain it, Rachel said gently. The current situation with humanity is one of stagnation. However, with the exponential increase of intelligent digital life and human simulated worlds, the computational complexity is also increasing. It is thus necessary to take the Earth, which is no longer needed for human habitation, and convert it mainly into computational substrate. To power this massive supercomputer requires massive solar farms. The remainder of humanity has agreed with this course of action provided that the planet's original form and organisms are recorded historically for VR.
I am not sure that I agree with that course of action, Arthur protested. How can we just demolish an entire planet?
We are not destroying it. It is merely being repurposed. There's only so much matter here.
Save the whales!
Save the digitally recreated whales. There's only so much matter here, and only so much energy we can collect from its surface. A sphere, rather than half of that's lit up at any given time. There is a better method of energy collection using the Earth's mass. A Dyson swarm.
I've heard of a Dyson sphere, not a Dyson swarm.
Yeah. He knew what that meant. Breaking Earth into 1,000,000 pieces and putting them in orbits around the sun. Goodbye, Earth.
Oh boy.
Just take me home. I can't take any more right now.
How, if Earth is in 1,000,000 little pieces, how are people living on Earth? Are they living on... No, they can't live on the moon then. Are they living on Mars?
Why haven't they colonized the moon yet?
What are they living? Are they living in a bubble where Earth was? That's weird.
Are we sure that's what's happened, or that's what's going to happen?
That just sounds awful. Like, they destroyed the entire world so that they could live out their fantasies, pretty much.
And the AI, that was the AI's proposition, and the man, he was like, fuck it, why not? Damn. But, I mean, at the same time, the Earth would have been fried eventually anyway, when the sun goes red giant. So, you know what this does bring up? This brings up a knee-jerk reaction from not just Arthur, but from you and I of like, no, you can't just wipe out the Earth and just say, oh, we recorded everything, whatever.
Yeah.
But, in a way, I mean, isn't that eventually what's going to happen regardless of what we feel?
Well, the future is completely unset at all times, right? I mean, Yellowstone could go in any minute, too.
True.
But there could be a supernova at any second. Like, anything is possible. That's the thing. But regardless of, those astronomical odds, we still are, like, I'd say, especially where we are in the U.S., instilled with this culture of the world is not ours, it's everybody's, including every animal's, every all the things that are on the earth are in some way precious. So that sounds like very selfish of humanity to do that, but that's just from,
Yet cold.
A yuppie perspective.
Well, but cold and illogical from an AI's perspective, who has no predisposition with save the whales.
Right, and he's only programmed with save the humans. And that sounds, I don't know if that's necessarily something that we would do. Maybe it is. Depends on who did it.
Maybe.
If, like, a corporation did it, maybe. if like a government did it.
Well,
Depends on the government.
Well, it was all the world basically coming together going, AI, please save us. Here's all of our energy for your computational limitless
yeah, and
power.
at that point, we probably said, like, fuck you, whales. We want to live.
What priority, human? Top priority. What priority, whales? Fuck them. Priority, fuck them. Oh, poor whales. All right, well, that was a lot of block text and a lot of exposition, but we're moving on to part 8.
But that explains the Dyson swarm. So if you break up all the pieces of the Earth and use, whatever you're going to use to gather power, solar panels, conversion of matter or whatever, the Dyson swarm would surround the sun, taking up as much energy as possible. I think that's what they're getting at.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I can see why you cringe now.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's not just a couple of tiny little pieces. It's so I'm like, how would people live on that? There's no
I mean, there's got to be some large chunk where just rows and rows of storage is, and that's where most of VR lives.
Well, if you break up the entire Earth, right, and use the entire surface, the remaining or the created surface to collect power, then I'm sure you have methods to collect power to keep people alive. But damn, like
I think maybe the AI's main objective is get all the humans into VR eventually before this gets completed. Because then you don't have to worry about.
What do you mean? It's
people.
Already completed.
No, there's still humans, like flesh and blood humans walking around. We know that.
So
where are you going to put them on an exploded Earth?
Well, it sounds like this is already passed. This is already done. So it's.
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what they said. This is all kind of done.
No, just said that there's one more way to keep all this going, and that's eventually the Dyson swarm.
No, that's what it is now.
In earlier installments, we know that there's flesh and blood humans still around, just in very limited numbers. Unless I got to go back and reread that, because there's a lot in this story. I could be wrong. Anyway, we'll do that later. We got to move on. Chapter 8. This one is short. That's good. Being home wasn't particularly relaxing for Arthur either. While it looked familiar, it was still VR. It lacked authenticity. How long would it take to get used to VR being his new reality? Did he want to get used to it? He recalled before he had been frozen that he had thought poorly of the VR available at the time. It was a toy. It was for games. Then it expanded its usefulness into certain medical therapies and treatments. It continued improving in realism, but you still had to come out to eat and take care of yourself. VR addiction came up in the news from time to time, but it was rather uncommon. Maybe it made sense if your life was miserable as a form of escape, but he could never relate to that. Even when he was on his way to his deathbed in the hospital, he still preferred a good read over VR and only used it when his level of boredom reached critical levels. And then only just long enough to sate his appetite for sensory stimulation. He liked to think about things, but there were limits, and then after a while you found you were just making a giant loop without additional information to think about.
Somewhere along the line, technology had improved to where VR had become a plausible full-time platform. After the cataclysm, after the cataclysm that had taken place, humanity itself wanted an escape. Once a certain threshold was reached, one would have needed to join up in VR to be part of society proper. A few stragglers and loners might live in base reality, but they would be cut out of the loop. The digital population now formed the supermajority that determined the fate of both humans and post-humans. It is not that biological humans in VR were being suppressed somehow, but rather that they had become apathetic to a reality which must have seemed irrelevant to them now.
Arthur felt similarly. I cannot say that word. Arthur felt similarly. Arthur felt similarly irrelevant as a proponent for the world outside of VR. There seemed to be no chance that his opinion would change the fate of the planet. Forces and ideas that had been in place for some time now were slowly, inexorably leading to their rational conclusions. Still, he wasn't sure he could just accept that. And then he lost his train of thought and fell deeply asleep, exhausted.
So he went and he dreamed about making buildings.
Yeah, do you dream in VR? Did they address that
Yeah,
yet?
like, what happens?
Because he still has he has a physical body still. It's just hooked up to VR.
Yeah. But I mean, he's in his brain all the time. So one could argue that nothing changes.
Maybe. I don't know. A lot of questions. I wonder if that will be if that'll be addressed.
Yeah. So so he's unhappy with being in VR.
He's unhappy with what happened, but he can't be the only one. He can't be the only one woken up from cryo and being like, I'm fine with all this.
No, he's been in VR for a while now. Has he not sought out any other human contact?
How long has he been in VR? Do we know? I don't think it's stated any passage of time yet.
No, but he's getting better at building. Buildings, I'm sure some time has passed. Like either days, hard to say days, weeks, or months, but definitely time.
And he's gotten a lot of feedback, but it's all gone through Rachel. He hasn't really spoken to anybody.
He hasn't spoken to anyone.
Maybe he's still adjusting? I don't know.
Maybe, but like people are apparently going, ooh, look at what he's building. But then again, I suppose he might be struggling because if he talks to somebody, are they human or non-human? Are they...
How does he know?
Yeah.
Only what Rachel tells him. The Matrix.
Okay, next chapter.
Part 9. Protocol Error. I want out of VR. Let me see the world as it is, Arthur said resolutely. He didn't want to be coddled in these artificial environments anymore. Maybe everyone else was satisfied living in there and letting an AI or whoever deal with things, but he wanted to see firsthand what management was up to. After all, that's why he went into cryo in the first place, to see the world, to see what the world would become, the real world.
Well, Rachel was hesitant. I'm not so sure that's a good idea right now. It's a bit rough on the nervous system, and I am fairly certain you are not going to have a positive reaction to the physical environment you are presently in. Ooh, there's like some Hellraiser shit going on.
What's wrong with my physical environment? Want to fight about it? What have you done with my body? Cried Arthur.
Relax, Arthur. Your body is fine. It will work just the way you are used to it. Well, before you got sick anyway. What I meant is that you most likely won't find what you are looking for. There isn't much to see or find. The cities are full of people, yes. Those people are in VR capsules. What? Oh, I could send messages to them, but very few have ever received an external communication. Probably wouldn't know what to make of it, and most certainly would not leave the VR because of it. Where the hell are these billion
I told
people
you, we haven't blown up the Earth yet. I told you.
Okay, fine. You were right. You want to hear that?
Yes.
Well,
On a
there.
daily basis.
No, well, then be right more often. You would be alone if you are looking for human company. Of course, I will be with you wherever you choose to go and when you need me. That is my job, and I will do it gladly. I don't recommend leaving VR as you may become distressed, and I don't want to see that happen. I know I told you the sky was the limit in physical space. But I meant, you just aren't ready for it, okay? Honestly, VR is preferable to anything out there anyway, and I was hoping you would forget about it eventually and find what you were looking for in the virtual space, which by the way, is way more flexible. You can do pretty much whatever you want in here. Come on, let's go build some stuff.
Suspicious dialogue.
Maybe she wants him to build things so that they have more buildable things in there.
Maybe
like
they're keeping all the humans around to like just farm data and ideas.
Or maybe
from them.
he's the only human and they're just farming data from him.
He's the last human alive.
Or one of few.
Maybe.
I don't know.
This is interesting that we're talking about. How come he hasn't spoken to anyone yet? The story's it's predicting what we're thinking again and then addressing it. I like that.
Except for where the hell are the people that he could that supposedly still live on Earth?
Well, she said they're in cities, in capsules.
Oh, even the billion people that decide to live in reality? She said there were people that decided to live in reality.
Yeah. But most of them are VR capsules. So,
but then they're not living in reality.
Yeah, but that's not most people. Most people are living in reality. They're just bodies, I think. Either way, they're probably on the fringe or whatever. They're not readily accessible. She was trying to deflect or distract him, he decided. Rachel, did it ever occur to you that human stagnation is maybe occurring because no one has to face any stress? They get to live out their days in VR fantasy land without a care in the world. Sure, they can enter a simulation that is more stimulating, but if it's too much for them, they can always just log out of that sim. That is not real stress or real fear because they know they can do this. That is why they are apathetic to reality. It no longer feels relevant to them. This is no longer any perception of real risk. One might say their only real fear is of fear itself. The feeling of real fear that would come with leaving their VR security blanket. Taking an actual risk in the flesh. I think that's why no one is willing to come out of VR.
So you are purposefully subjecting yourself to these negative emotions? I don't see the point. It only reduces your overall happiness, and I therefore must strongly advise against this course of action.
Arthur closed his eyes and considered the best way to explain what he was feeling. The point of this is not to seek happiness nor avoid it. I have always been a truth seeker, and sometimes the truth is painful. His wife Sarah came to mind, but he didn't dwell on the thought. I would rather know what reality looks like than not know, and I don't care if that comes with an emotional toll to pay. Do you understand?
Rachel, for perhaps the first time ever, looked flustered. Clearly she was having an internal conflict. Does not compute. I can't say that I do understand. My mandate is to help you live a happier life and keep you healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally. What you want runs counter to that. Thus, it is difficult for me to rationalize your fulfilling your request. I'm searching archives on psychology and philosophy, hoping
Psychology today has nothing on this. I don't understand.
that I can find a suitable argument for or against your proposal. So far, what I have found is this. Truth is merely a product of perceptions. Perceptions are colored by experience, which is then filtered through the current state of mind and altered even further. By the time a neutral event is processed in this manner, it is a little more truth than fiction. Yet personal truth is accepted wholeheartedly. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. There's a lot of truth to that.
We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are.
So wherever you are in life, whatever you're thinking about, the experiences that you have, you process through your mindset, through however you're thinking. If you're angry, then whatever happening to you is going to have an angry tint to it.
Your worldview paints your perception of reality.
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you...
the way I perceive reality, gravity doesn't exist.
That's not quite what I'm saying, but or what they're saying. She paused to let that sink in. You have many biases that will paint what you see in a negative light and mark that as truth based on the way you think it should be. Based on your psychological profile, you will with 98% certainty feel all of these to a large extent. Regret, sorrow, loss, anger, and pain.
The dark side.
Pain leads to ulcers. Ulcers lead to skating accidents. Skating accidents lead to the dark side.
That's what happened to Palpatine when he was a child. One bad skating accident and set him on a Sith Lord path.
Feeling the loss of your wife was unavoidable based on your knowledge at that time, but it would be reconciled and healed with time. However, the knowledge you are now seeking carries unnecessary extreme emotional pain for you, and no benefits that I can see. You cannot be reconciled or resolved with your present psychology. I am unable to knowingly put you into such a state deliberately. I'm sorry. I just can't do what you want.
So he's just saying...
So she denied him. She said that she wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe there's like a protocol of I won't put you in danger to where it'll hurt you or compromise you because then, that runs against my programming. But I don't quite believe her because he's just saying, look, I just want to leave VR to go look at what happened. I want to see with my own eyes. I don't care how much it hurts me. And she says, well, you can do that. You can go maybe talk to someone, but they're in pods. Whatever, you don't want to do that. He says, well, I just want to go out and see. What's the harm in that? Well, it'll really hurt you. But you were saying it was possible to go talk to people? She's definitely hiding something.
You think so?
Yeah. No,
I
it's because what is the harm in leaving his capsule, looking around and seeing rows and rows of people in capsules and
But
go,
if that's
oh,
true,
okay.
why didn't she just say, no, everyone's dead?
Because that in turn might cause really bad stress and kill him. Like that truth may be
But
even harder for
that
him to
would be
swallow.
but that would be easier. I think that would be a lot easier for him to swallow.
Oh, we don't know.
Everyone is either dead or in VR. And that's because of monster AIDS virus monkeys.
It's not Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes happened, and that would be a lot easier to control him. So I'm not convinced because it would just be easier to lie. It would be easier to...
Well, then why hasn't she lied?
We don't know if she's lied. Why would
I think she is
But
lying.
she's building a tower of lies versus just saying, no, you can't have this because it's not true.
Well,
or because of this
Well,
lie.
you're saying that it's easier to drop a truth bomb than it is to just lead him into it slowly.
What?
You're saying it's easier just to say, oh, well, they're all dead, which is like...
You think that's the truth?
No, I'm saying, you said it'd be easier just to lie to him and say all the humans are dead, as opposed to try and like say, no, don't go out there, they can't see you, blah, 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 blah. How is that easier if that truth could crush him? If that realization could like destroy him mentally?
But humans aren't dead. They're in VR like him.
I know.
Well,
But if it's a lie, which is what we're discussing, you're saying it's easier for her to say, "Oh no, they're all dead," as opposed to just making up excuses.
She said the entire world was broken up into little pieces.
Is going to be
Whatever. Like
again, so not the truth.
I don't know. Whatever she told him, humanity has already drastically changed. Whether humanity is alive or dead, I think is a moot point to the amount of changes that.
Well, but it is. She hasn't said it. This is a computer program. It is meticulously thinking about absolutely everything it is showing to Arthur.
Okay.
So I don't know. These chapters have created a lot of intrigue, and I will say right now, to binary algorithm, the pacing is great. Like, I don't feel bored reading this. I don't feel like we're missing out on anything or that things are dragging because we keep coming up with questions and the next chapter addresses it. And I keep saying that, but I love it. It's really cool. And it's still thought-provoking because we're sitting here thinking about, like, well, which one is it? So, yeah, some good suspense right now. Anything else we want to say about this?
Are humans alive, or are they walking the earth, or are they all in pods?
We may have to go back and read
Yeah.
a little bit. I may have forgot that point. But inconsequential to what we read mostly. Hasn't confused me.
I really like the use of the environment. Like we aren't really using the environment that Arthur's living in, but the environment they all live in. The talking about the history of it and how people are dying, but it's not a sad thing because
it's
the robots didn't do it to them.
Yeah.
They all chose to do this to themselves. It's a very good use of
setting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The setting is very well thought out.
I like the fact that I'm not going to speak for you, but let me know if you agree or not. I feel just as kind of claustrophobic as Arthur does because we're only given what Arthur knows.
Yeah.
We do not know what lies outside the VR. We have an idea, but we don't know for sure, so we're just as eager for him to get out as he is. And that's really, really good writing. And like they're just, questions are running through our minds. And it's cool to have that very relatable personal connection with the main character. Like him or hate him, agree with him or not, you can't help but like feel like you're in his shoes.
Yeah.
It's
and I'm
really
also
cool.
kind of in a mindset where I'm trying to combat Rachel's argument.
Yeah. There's a very easy distrust to have for her, and especially now because it was all kind of too good to be true to start out. And the pacing is really good.
Really enjoying it.
Loving it. Sorry, this was a short episode, but stuff has been busy lately, and we missed a week due to things. But we're hopefully going to be back on track really quick. But yeah, thank you again to Binary Algorithm. Enjoying the story a lot.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Hope the feedback is good. Let us know if not, or whatever. Thank you to all the authors and all that. Submissions are still open if anyone wants to submit anything. Got a good backlog, but love to hear from new authors and new stories. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Goodbye.